Go baby, what's good guys? Yoku here, and if you've seen my previous video going over 1.1 and why I think it's good but a few things are bad in it, then you know what I'm about to talk about now because I'm wearing the same exact Batman shirt. But we're gonna go over Silverwolf today and whether or not Silverwolf is actually worth the pull, including her banner. So I guess if you want to include this as a Silverwolf banner review, sure, but I'm mostly speaking about Silverwolf and then the value behind Dan Heng, Asta, and even Serval. If you're looking for Luocha, I'm going to do that video right after this one, and it'll release right after this one. So if you're watching this after everything's released, then it'll just be a little bubble or at the end of the video. Regardless, let's get into it. Now, Silverwolf is one of those characters that I've been gassing up like crazy. The moment I realized what Silverwolf did specifically, I knew that it was going to be a character that was just way too strong, way too universal of a character to be able to use on any team. Now, my perspective for Honkai Star Rail is a lot different than a lot of y'all's perspective for Honkai Star Rail. Most of you are playing this game as if it's a turn-based Genshin Impact 1-for-1, and that is not the case whatsoever. Now, being an RPG enthusiast, an RPG expert, if you will, I understand the difference between what is good in an RPG or turn-based game, what could be broken, and what's just okay. A big benefactor to this point would be my multiple points actually about freeze with Yang Xing or with Japard, how often I've spoke about break effect and the emphasis on that, and the emphasis / importance that I've put on the effect hit rate compared to other creators or theory crafters who really look at those two stats and like, they're not worth it. Coming from Genshin Impact and playing that game throughout its entirety, I understand that a lot of us are crit rate, crit damage, and we really didn't get to elemental mastery until we got to the Dendro side of things. And that's cool, I suppose, but in Honkai Star Rail, I think all of the stats are important in some way, shape, or form. And as long as I've been talking about this, I've been saying different builds are going to happen very soon, and now we're starting to see that. I believe Kappa is going to come through, but I also think that Silverwolf is going to enable a lot more things to happen right now compared to waiting for Kafka in potentially 1.2. But you're asking yourself, what does Silverwolf do? Why do you gas her up so much? Well, I got you. We already know about her being able to apply the weakness to any team. And as of right now, from my understanding, until they announce otherwise or show otherwise, this is a guaranteed ability. Anytime Silverwolf uses her skill, is going to be a guaranteed weakness application to any single enemy that she hits on the opposite team. And while this is random for her to be able to apply whatever element is on the team, there is a way to manipulate / force this to happen. Number one being if you're running a mono comp, which means that she only has technically a 50-50, two options to apply this element, her own being quantum or whatever other element all three other characters are. Now, this one isn't my favorite. I'm not a big fan of this, but I understand it. And I don't think monocomp is going to be the best way to run Silverwolf, but I do think it'll be beneficial. The next way to do this is simple. Every enemy does not only have one element they're weak to. They're weak to physical and ice. They're weak to physical fire and wind. They're weak to lightning, ice, and quantum. It's a mixture of things. If you build your team around whatever type of content you're tackling to the point where 2 or 3 of your characters have the weakness type on the enemies, but your DPS character does not have the weakness type, what this is going to do is force Silverwolf to always apply your DPS's element to the enemy, simply because it's the only one that is not available on the enemy team. Moving with the rest of her kit, she's also going to have the ability to implant bugs, which again, during the live stream, this was not stated to have any type of percentage-based chance. So until they state otherwise, I'm not going to actually go off of that fact, but we'll see when it gets there. So do take this with a grain of salt in case they do make it percentage based, but that won't really change regarding Silverwolf as a concept. Attack reduction, defense reduction, and slow, all three things that are super important to anything going on. These are random, but she can apply or she can stack them rather. At least that's what we were led to believe. I don't know if the stacking capability of that is still there, but it could be. Her ultimate has a percentage, this one actually has a % based chance to reduce the enemy's defense while dealing damage from whatever her ultimate is going to do for the single target. And to top it off, we're going to get the Star Hunt game, I believe is the name of the event, which is going to give us the tutorial mission before the tutorial mission starts, which is going to be her signature 4-star light cone. And this is going to be huge on a lot of other Nihility characters, but specifically for Silverwolf, we're also going to be able to superimpose this to 5, going based off the trend of how superimposition works. That effect hit rate is going to go from 20% to 40%. It usually doubles from the max superimposition. And whenever the wearer attacks an enemy that has reduced defense, is going to regenerate 4 energy. Once again, Usually speaking, this is going to double, so this is probably going to go up to like 8%, maybe even 10%, or 10 energy, my bad, not a percentage. Overall, Silverwolf is going to be one of those characters that I absolutely adore. I think this character is phenomenal. I think if they leave her the way that she was in CBT3, or even slightly adjust her and then put her in the game now, it'll be a great addition to any one single team. The big problem here comes into play when you have something on your account that you don't necessarily need, but it's desirable. And coming from a free-to-play perspective here, this is what creates the issue, whether or not you should pull Silverwolf or Luocha. And the easiest way to explain this, and I'll also say this in the Luocha video, if you don't have Bailu or Japard, Silverwolf is not for you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I understand that a lot of you may already know about this alleged 4-star healer coming into the game. No one knows when this healer is supposed to come into the game. What we do know is that for the next projected 12 weeks, if not longer, there is no other healer coming to the game. Now, I'll leave the rest of that for the Luocha video, but as you can see with Silverwolf and Silverwolf's importance, Silverwolf as a character completely changes your account. Not because of her ability to heal or anything like that. It's because she takes something that's innate to the game and manipulates. She hacks it. That's the easiest way to explain it. She hacks the game. If an enemy doesn't have a weakness, she gives it to him. If the enemy is too fast or needs a little bit more defense reduction or even an attack reduction, she gives it to him. Like, she just takes it away. She's a hacker character. Things that should not happen in the game, Silverwolf is able to manipulate and then make it happen in the game. If you even, like, I understand that most people probably won't get her signature light cone, the 5-star, but if you do get Incessant Rain, it makes these things even better. It increases her crit rate. It makes it so that she allows the enemy to take 12% more damage, and that is 100% guaranteed to implant, or rather a 100% base chance to implant. And then you start adding more effect hit rate, it increases it by 24%. You increase her effect hit rate. It's wonderful. Then you work on, oh, what build do I run with Silverwolf? Well, you're going to add some speed into it so that Silverwolf usually moves first on the team. You can start running amok throughout everything. But if we get into her banner and we go over, okay, well, what are the banner characters she's going to have on the team? Dan Heng. A lot of you already have Dan Heng built up on free to play. And with that in mind, I don't have Zila. I did mention Sushong, and I believe it's her E2 if I'm not mistaken. Before I mentioned Sushong in one of my videos, specifically probably the actual Sushong guy, but I said in that video that if you get an E6 Sushong, because that's what's currently on the banner right now, this makes her even more of a mini Zila. She already has the skill to be able to do this by using her ultimate. Once she uses her ultimate, she immediately advances forward by 100%. So it kind of creates the Zila effect. It's you know, it's a little baby Zila effect, but whatever. Dan Heng has something similar in his E4, where whenever he uses his ultimate to defeat an enemy, his next action is advance forward by 100%. So instead of him just defeating an enemy and then it jumps up by 100 and he gets to go again, it's his ultimate that he needs to hit and then he gets to jump again. So it's, again, honestly, this makes him a mini Sushong, if you will, because Sushong has this in her ult built in. It's built into her kit. Dan Heng needs Eidolons to do this, so that's built into his kit. And then you get into his E6, which whenever they are the slow state is triggered by the skill, it's going to reduce their speed by an extra 8%, which just stacks it on top of that, which deals more damage from the ultimate, so on and so forth. Getting Eidolons on Dan Heng is great. Getting Eidolons on Asta basically fixes the character. I mean, I still don't have any faith in Asta, if I'm being completely honest, but it does help her because her E2 is going to be what adds the charging stack thing, right? It's going to make it so when she uses her ultimate, she doesn't immediately lose charging stacks in the next turn. And then her E6 is going to make it so that she loses one, or reduced by one, right? She loses one less charging stack each turn, which is great because she already loses a lot. The problem with Asta is that she is pretty skill hungry if you're trying to keep up those stacks. So you have to make it to where it's like, oh, well, I don't want Asta to use all my skill points, or I need to focus my skill point management around using Asta's skill, and you go from there. Or I'm only using basic attacks, and if you're only using basic attacks, you're not really boosting the stacks at all. So it makes it a little bit quirky in that sense. Last but not least is going to be Serval, which I have zero faith in at this point. And as much as I want to, I just don't. Getting Eidolons on Serval is like a last resort, if you will. If you were one of the few who did not pull for Jing Yuan because you just didn't save up for the character, okay, you could use Serval. However, let's say that you didn't get Jing, but you got Zila, because it's kind of one or the other, right? You either didn't get Zila, so you picked Jing, or you didn't get Jing and you picked Zila. If you have both, you have zero reason to be even looking at Serval's direction. But if you have Zila, in this case, if you have Zila, you could go for Serval. Serval's nice, she's not bad. She could definitely help you out depending on like the whole AoE thing and the structure. However, we're also going to be getting Yukong in 1.1, and Yukong is basically going to be your mini Bronya, which I'll leave this in a Yukong video specifically, but as of right now, based off what we know about Yukong, she is going to be a mini Bronya. The only thing she doesn't have is the actual skill, which is going to advance you forward by 100% immediately, right? It just happens. However, her buffs are going to be what I consider a mini Bronya, being able to boost your crit rate, being able to boost your crit damage. And I don't know the number specifically, but I do know that if you use Yukong's ultimate in her bowstring state, or whatever the bowstring ability is called, the passive behind that, it's going to double the numbers, if I'm not mistaken. And I think those numbers jump up to 60. Again, I could be wrong on that. I don't know a specific number. In terms of the value behind this banner, it's geared towards free-to-play, but the problem with this is that as a free-to-play player, you either already have invested into them, which makes Eidolons really good for them, or it makes it so that you don't want them per se, right? You want more characters, you want more 4 stars, you want the ability to get more 4 stars so that you have more characters. And right now it kind of sucks for that because you don't get those. And of course you could have Eidolons already, whatever the case may be. I know everybody's been pulling. The real value comes from the E4 Dan Heng or higher, and of course Silverwolf. And Asta gets fixed, but you guys get where I'm going with this. Silverwolf's banner itself isn't so much a must pull or even a high pull priority for free-to-play players. Silverwolf herself, however, is a high priority to pull for everyone if they leave her alone. If she's not changed based off what I'm understanding from the live stream, then she's good. But again, if you don't have certain characters on your account already, you really honestly just have to skip Silverwolf. She's not going to be the type of support character that's going to be so cracked out that you're able to ignore needing basic support or defense options in order to keep your team alive. But who knows, in 12 weeks you might actually have a cracked out DPS character that obliterates things so fast with Silverwolf support that you just don't need a healer. That's kind of what I'm working on. And honestly, I'm just gonna say it, bro. Holiest has a cracked out Zila to the point where he gets ult every 2 attacks. To be fair, I don't even need a healer when I borrow his Zila, bro. My Bronya plus his Zila, we don't need a healer. They kind of clean up shop, but it is what it is. Regardless, let me know your thoughts and opinions on Silverwolf's banner down below. If you agree or disagree with some of the things that I've stated, or if you even think that Silverwolf is going to be something that you consider a high priority on pulling. Like the video, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. I can't say my usual outro because it's inappropriate for YouTube. I'll see you later.